Trucker Dump, episode 154. You know, we don't even have a main topic today, but we do have a mega crap ton of news, some listener feedback, and a fun contest that could win you $50. So about this news, we got a handful of truck recalls, Canadian ELDs, lots of driverless trucks being ordered, some useful tips for tax time, another reroute around a busted bridge, and yet another safety blitz. Yes, really. But hey, all is not lost. We also tell you what qualifies as an out-of-service violation when it comes to lights and hours of service. This one might surprise you. We'll even discuss how some of these violations are actual crimes. What? We'll address some myths around the COVID vaccine, and if you're still freaked out, how to clean your truck to reduce your chances of getting it. But hey, at least you won't die from a truck rollover if this handy prototype fifth wheel makes it to the market. And once again, the powers that be are making truckers unhappy with talks of the new vehicle miles traveled tax, the push for speed limiters and automatic emergency braking, and why DOT physicals still won't go directly onto your CDL for years to come. Not to mention the court's ruling against lease operators and a survey showing not much faith in the Biden administration. But hey, at least a new FMCSA director has finally been nominated. So there's that. And to finish up, we'll show you how to value your time more, how to extend the life of your DPF filter. Yes, I realize that's redundant. And I'll tell you about a new addition to the Garmin Diesel OTR series of truck GPSs, and they all even have a new feature in them. What? I told you there was a lot of news. Do you think I was lying or something? This episode of Trucker Dump is sponsored by Volvo Trucks and their new D13 turbo compound engine. Vroom vroom.
Welcome to Trucker Dump, where you'll get one driver's insights and sometimes humorous views of truck driving and the trucking industry, and pretty much anything else he feels like dumping on you. This podcast is brought to you by AboutTruckDriving.com, resources to help you understand the world of truck driving through the use of stories and a pathetic attempt at humor.
Hey, Trucker Dumpers, how's it going out there? Well, here I sit in my home, in my office. It has been raining and pouring all night long. Actually, you might hear a little bit of it in the podcast today because, wow, well, not right now. It's finally quit raining. But when I was recording earlier, it was coming down, and something about the gutter on the corner of this house is really loud. I went to all the other corners and didn't hear any loud noises. So I wonder if some birds got in there and built a nest or something. It's weird, chunky sound. I don't know what's going on there. But you know what? You don't even care about my gutters, right? Probably don't even care who I am. But I'm going to tell you anyway. My name is Todd McCann, and I'm a 23-year truck driver, almost 24. About 22 years of that, I was over the road, and I have been an LTL driver ever since. I'm obviously a podcaster. I'm a blogger. I'm a freelance writer if you want to pay me to do it. I do a little bit of video. But of course, the thing I'm world famous for is being an author of 2 books, Trucking Life and How to Find a Great Truck Driving Job. Both on the New York Times bestseller list for 18 years consecutively. Okay, bit of an exaggeration there. Anyway, you can find those books if you're interested at abouttruckdriving.com. You can get both those books for 25% off if you order on the website. That is a total of $14.98. Or if you just want them individually, you can get them on Amazon or iBooks, wherever you get your books. There's even a 9-hour, 15-minute audiobook version for Trucking Life if you'd prefer to listen to it going down the road. That comes free when you buy the book. There's a link in the book and you can download the audio for that. So again, that and everything else I do can be found at abouttruckdriving.com. So hey, we had a safety blitz yet again. Did y'all make it through it fine? I, once again, drive nights, didn't see any difference whatsoever. I, of course, get all the stats later on about all the people who were nailed for doing bad things and being naughty, but I never experienced it. Never even did before I was LTL and driving all night. You know, even when I was driving during the day, I hardly ever saw anything from that. But anyway, we got another one coming up. Boy, can you believe it? Anyway, I'll tell you about that here in a little bit. So what is going on in your world? I have not heard from hardly anyone recently. Hardly anybody's writing into the show. Very little listener feedback. No Trucker Grub segments. No nothing. Are you all still alive, or has COVID killed every single one of you? Just a little confused what's going on here. So, hey, reach out to me at truckerdump@gmail.com. Now, like I said in the intro there is no main topic for the episode today. I was going to have something, and quite honestly, this news segment went on so darn long that I just decided, why bother? I'll just save that for a later date, and we'll just have another completely news episode. Honestly, it surprised me when I looked at my list. It didn't seem like I had that many stories, but apparently I did. I'm typically pretty bad at math, so that could be part of it. Anyway, I suppose we should just get on with the show, right? Wrong. I forgot to mention, I have a device. It's an Android tablet. It's actually the Trace by FleetUp. If you remember in episode 131, I did a review of that. It's an ELD, but it also is just a ruggedized Android tablet. If you have a need for this, or you just want it, why don't you shoot me an email, truckerdump@gmail.com. The first person I get the email from, I will just send it to you because I don't need it anymore. And like I said, you can just use it for a regular Android device. It's pretty heavy. Like I said, it is heavy duty. So it's not something you probably want to lay around in bed with. But, if you want something to take on the road, or if you're out in the field quite often, you're afraid of dropping something like that, this would be a really cool device for you. Again, it is also an ELD, and it has a dash cam function if you're interested in that. But of course, you would have to sign up to the FleetUp program. And I didn't actually have the little device that plugs in either, so you would have to order that from them. But hey, if anyone is interested in that whatsoever, just send me an email to truckerdump@gmail.com and say, hey, I want that device. I'll take it off your hands. I'd appreciate it. I don't need it. The evil overlord wants it out of the house because I don't use it. I have no use for it as a company driver. So get rid of it. Spring cleaning, right? Besides, you always do what the evil overlord says. At least that's my motto. Okay, now let's get on with the news. Well, I should have known it was too good to be true. If you remember in the last episode, we did not have any recalls whatsoever. Well, that's because they were all piling up for this episode. Looks like we got, 5, 6 in here? So anyway, this first one is for Daimler trucks. That's, Freightliners and Western Stars affected here. Most of these, it's got some different classes that most of you probably don't drive. So I'll just mention the 2021 and 2022 Freightliner Cascadias and the Western Star 4700s, 4900, and 5700s. Again, there are some others affected by this. Check out the link in the show notes here. This is to truckersnews.com. And what this is, it seems to be there's a problem with almost 18,000 trucks. 18,000. That's a lot. Apparently there's a problem with the steering arm and the tie rod bolts. They may have a defective seam in it that can fracture, making you lose your steering. So we don't want that. Of course, Freightliner's going to fix this for free, or Western Star, whoever's going to fix this for free. Details in the show notes here, along with recall numbers and all that stuff. Plus, Daimler will be contacting owners of these vehicles to let them know to get their butt in and get this fixed. The second one is by PACCAR here. This one just affects a few models, actually only 56. Is that right? That can't be right. Well, it says 56, 56 trucks. Well, that's just a weird number. You'd think there would be many, many more. If it was only 56, I'm surprised they do a recall on it at all. But anyway, it has to do with a starter interrupt, whatever that is. It may allow the vehicle to start when the transmission is not in park. So apparently this is only for automatics. So this is, let's see, this affects 2022 Kenworth T440s, T470s, T800s, and W990s. Again, that's only 56. So I bet nobody on this podcast, hopefully, will actually hear from PACCAR on this, but they will contact you and fix it for free. And moving on to the next recall, let's move over to overdriveonline.com. Again, we've got Western Star and Freightliner. Bad month for those guys. This is affecting 11,000 trucks in 2 separate recalls. One of these affects a little over 6,100 trucks. That'd be 2021 Freightliner Cascadias and Western Star 4,700 trucks. They say the clutch flange could break, and if that occurs, loose parts could fall into the clutch pressure plate assembly and cause the clutch to disengage. The other recall affects a little over 5,100 2019 through 2021 Western Star 4,700 and 5,700 models. And they say the ground harness wiring may be undersized and could cause a connector to melt, which could stall the engine out. So again, both these owners will be notified by Daimler and fixed for free. Recall numbers in the show notes. But apparently it's not just Freightliner, PACCAR, and Western Star here that is having problems. I guess International felt left out, so they wanted to be included in the conversation, right? Well, they have about 10,000 trucks, internationals, that are having problems. 2019 through 2021, LT and RH models. It says the wrist pin may crack and cause connecting rod failure, which could cause the engine to stall. Of course, they will notify you and fix this for free. This one is a different article on overdriveonline.com, so check out the link in the show notes on that one. Now, you'd think we'd be done with recalls, but you are wrong. Sorry about that. Again, we're going to stick with overdriveonline.com on this. This one is for more internationals and Mack trucks. Got about 1,400 trucks that have 2 different braking issues. On the first one, well, I'm just going to read this one to you because, man, oh man, I am not mechanical. Don't understand what the heck this is saying, but maybe you do. We got 845 trucks that are 2021 models of international HV, LT, MV, and RH trucks. They are equipped with Bendix pressure switches. And according to the recall, a retainer was not properly seated in the SC3 single check valve and may not provide source air isolation when pressure is applied. Sorry, there is no Google Translate for that. If you don't understand it, you just don't understand it, just like I don't. The other recall affects 615 trucks that are 2021 International LT and RH trucks. And in this recall, the spring inside the spring brake chamber may allow the pressure plate to shift and wear a hole through the diaphragm. And that could cause an air leak, which could cause the parking brake to engage. While you're driving, that's not a good thing, right? And the last one here, well, let's hope it's the last one. Mack has more than 500 trucks with stability control issues. These are the 2018 through 2022 Mack Anthem, Granite, and Pinnacle models, equipped with Camelback rear suspension and electronic stability control. They say the affected trucks may not stay in their lane at certain speeds. Apparently, this one actually fails to meet the requirements of the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard, number 136, which has to do with the electronic stability control systems on heavy vehicles. So, all of these, link in the show notes to the recall numbers, like say 3 different articles here, 4 different articles, I can't remember, something like that. Anyway, a lot of recalls. So, hey, now we got a lot this month. Maybe we won't have any in the next episode. Don't hold your breath. Hey, you know what sucks worse than recalls that affect just a few of you who are listening right now? Another bridge being out. Well, we just experienced this over there in Cincinnati, and everybody had to route around that. It was a big pain in the butt because, a couple of trucks had a wreck on there and burned it, and it got really damaged. Thankfully, it's back open again. Well, this bridge we're talking about now, you probably already heard about it. It's been all over social media. It's been in the trucking news. But in case you have not heard, this could affect you if you're going down I-40. Yes, this is the Hernando de Soto Bridge, which I didn't know the name of until I read this article. That is on I-40 going across from Arkansas into Tennessee there. And apparently this thing has about 35,000 vehicles per day and about 9,100 trucks is what they estimate. And that honestly seems a little low considering it's I-40. But this is being done because they found a crack on May 11th, what they call a structural beam crack. But boy, if you look at the photo here, a link in the show notes. By the way, I found this on truckersnews.com. There is a major crack. I don't even know how they call that a crack. It's a complete separation of a steel beam. I mean, it's bad. I mean, not only are they keeping cars off of it, but they're not even letting barges go underneath it on the Mississippi River. So, wow. So anyway, just so you know, if you're heading into Memphis anytime soon or just going through Memphis, you will need to take the I-55 bridge. And from there, you'll just need to figure out your way back to 40, whether that be just taking the 240 loop around the south side if you're going on through, or if you're going into Memphis, you might want to consider cutting up, I believe it's I-69 now, right through the middle of Memphis. That's what the map shows anyway. I was not aware it was 69 now. I thought it was called something else. But anyway, your truckers, you should be able to find your way around. Just don't count on your maps, your GPS and stuff, because, it's probably going to, not get to where you're going. I mean, depending how far out of route you got to go here. So anyway, just be smart. Don't follow your GPS blindly during all this, because that's a bad idea. We've talked about that before. So anyway, just so you are aware, link in the show notes to truckersnews.com. Oh, and I forgot to mention that this article does say that this inspection isn't even completely done yet, according to the time of this article, and they are expecting this to be months, not weeks, to get this fixed. So just be prepared. Keep your eye on I-40 in Memphis. Okay, onward now. All right, since the theme of this show so far seems to be, hey, let's tell everybody about everything that sucks in this world, why don't we have another safety blitz? Yes, another one. Yeah, we just got through the last one. No details on that one yet. I'm sure we'll have stats coming out on that in a future episode. But for now, you can head on over to truckinginfo.com and read all about this Operation Safe Driver Week. Yeah, this one is co-sponsored by the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance and the FMCSA, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, for those of you unfamiliar with the trucking industry. This one will be held July 11th through July 17th. So this one is a bit longer than the ones in the past. Usually those are only, 2-3 days. This one looks like we got 6 days going on here. Law enforcement's going to be out, and they're going to be looking in particular for incidents that happen around commercial vehicles. So hopefully they will really be on radar for, those times when cars are driving reckless around trucks, things like that, but it's not just cars they're after trucks also. It says here they're looking for dangerous behaviors such as speeding, reckless or aggressive driving, distracted driving, following too closely, improper lane change, failure to obey control devices, failure to use a seatbelt, and evidence of drunk or drugged driving. So, hey, aren't they always looking for that stuff? I hope they are. But anyway, they're going to be focusing specifically this year mainly on speeding. That's their big thing. Now, according to the National Safety Council, the NSC, their estimates come out. It's a little weird. Apparently last year there was less people actually traveling. It says there was 13% fewer miles driven last year because of COVID. Okay. But the actual death rate went up quite a bit. And actually, if you figure it up, it increased 24% over the previous 12-month period. So that's kind of weird, less miles driven, but more road deaths. I don't know. Do we blame it on COVID? We blame every other death on COVID, right? So I don't know. Maybe that's the answer right there. Anyway, they said this is the highest estimated year-over-year jump, that's been calculated in 96 years. Wow. Okay. Well, maybe it is good that they're going to get out there and look for this thing. Again, this is happening July 11th through the July 17th. So just be aware. For all the details on this, check out the link in the show notes to truckinginfo.com. All right, since we're talking about the fuzz being out in full force and looking to bust some people, this article is probably the best thing you can read or check out or just listen to what I have to say here. Probably the most useful information you as a trucker are going to use on a daily basis. This was a really cool article. Taught me something I didn't know. This one you will find at overdriveonline.com, link in the show notes. This one's called With Road Check Underway, here's a refresher on the out of service violations for lights and hours. Okay. Well, this was actually in regards to the big road check event that took place back in May, but it still pertains to this new one coming up. So just so you know, actually it pertains to everyday driving. That's why I think it was so cool to read this article. All right. So anyway, this one was written by Todd Dills. He is a senior editor at Overdrive magazine, and he got these tips from a guy named Andy Blair, who's a compliance consultant out of Pennsylvania. Really cool stuff. Okay, quit saying cool stuff, Todd, and get on with it. So anyway, did you know, of course, we all know we can get tickets for stuff, right? You got lights out, things like that. But there's only certain things they can actually put you out of service for. And this light one really surprised me. Okay, let me just read this first part. Out of service conditions for headlights and steady burning taillights apply only when lights are required, for instance, at night when it's raining, construction zones, etc., and when both lights in any pair aren't operable. So again, what that means is basically whether it's night or day, whatever time of day, as long as you have one of the things working, for instance, if you have one brake light working, you're not put out of service. If you have one headlight working, you can't be put out of service. Only if both headlights are out or both headlights or both brake lights are not working. But even like headlights, you can't be shut down if you're running during day hours and both headlights are not working. You can't be shut down for that because they're not required at the time. You have until it's dark to get that fixed, or just park it, or only drive during the day. Which, well, who wants to do that? Well, I guess my friend driver Chris Mack only wants to do that, but it wouldn't be a Trucker Dump podcast without one slam on driver Chris Mack. Anyway, so let's ask you a question. If there's one bulb that you could carry in your truck, what would it be? Well, according to this Andy Blair guy, he says when he asks owner-operators this, most of them think it is a headlight or a brake light, when in fact, the single most important light is a rear turn signal bulb. That's the only one that can put you out of service. And that makes sense because, like we said, both have to not be working, but there's only one left turn signal or only one right turn signal. So if that's out, you can be put out of service. Now, there is a bit of a catch to this. Actually, if you have a tractor that is equipped like one of these old school tractors that has like the turn signals like that stick out past the, they're mounted on the front corners, kind of out from the actual body of the cab of the fender. If that one is still working and people can see it from the rear, then you still can't be shut down for that, even if you don't have any rear turn signals. So interesting. That probably won't affect most of us because that's, on older tractors mostly. I guess if you want to go the extra mile, you could stick them on whatever tractor you own. And, then if you have a bulb out on your tractor or on your trailer sometime, it won't matter that much. But that seems like, just extra lights to take care of. So anyway, I just thought this was really interesting. I didn't know that. I just always assumed if you had a light out, you could be put out of service, but apparently that is not the case. Now, if you want to read more about this particular thing for lights, again, you can go to the link in the show notes at overdriveonline.com. But he goes on and says there are other issues that can cause you to be put out of service, and most of the time that is an hours of service issue. And the big violations here are, of course, going over your daily maximums, like your 11 hours, or going over your 14 hours, or going over your 70 or your 60 if that's what you're on. So obviously those you can be shut down for. But another one is not having a logbook at all. And anybody who is in the know knows that if you have a logbook, and you're required to have a logbook, you are required to have the previous 7 days on you, not the previous 7 days back at your terminal or back at your, at your home in your home office or something like that, but actually on you. So if you're running paper logs, for instance, because your e-log is not working, as long as you can access those 7 days through your e-logs, those previous 7 days, you should be good. Even though, today the e-log is not working for whatever reason. But if that e-log has completely failed you and you cannot access those past 7 days, you have to stop somewhere and get that printed off. I don't know how you would do that if your e-log device is not working. I'm guessing that may be a reason why you might want to go with an e-log device that actually has a web, like a website, that you can actually go to and print stuff from there too. So you could, if your ELD fails, you could go to it from your smartphone or something like that. And the other big one that you can be shut down for is, of course, false logs. And according to the thing here, it says that the number one thing that drivers are getting cited for now is incorrect use of PC. That's personal conveyance off duty. Now, this wouldn't surprise anybody because, the FMCSA has left that rule a little vague on purpose so drivers can use it to their advantage. But you have to really be careful. Like I've said before here, if you're going to use that, you better be able to prove that you did not have any other option. Now, I got into a little bit of trouble with this one at my company. I actually got what we call a letter for it. That's basically a write-up. Most companies would call that a write-up, getting in trouble. And what had happened to me was I was stuck in traffic. We mentioned the Cincinnati Bridge earlier. Well, I was stuck in some traffic on that, and I had plenty of time to get to my destination, which was our Cincinnati yard, which is on the north side of Cincinnati. And like I said, I had plenty of time to make it, but I got stopped in traffic for about 20 minutes, I believe it was. Yeah. And I was 16 miles out. So I was going to make it. It was going to be tight, but I was going to make it. But I ran out of time while I was actually on that bridge. I had about 3 minutes left and I pulled to the other side of the bridge. I pulled over on the closest anywhere I could find, to not go in violation. And that just happened to be where a road split off from 75. And it was not a very good situation. I had cars on both sides of me. So I called my dispatchers, which we have different dispatchers for different areas. So this guy doesn't know me from Adam, doesn't know I'm not a cheater by heart, but he basically, I said, told the situation where I was at. I was in a dangerous situation and I needed to use the off-duty PC to get to my yard because, as I've quoted on here before, the director of the FMCSA's compliance and enforcement, the part of that, his name is Joe De Lorenzo. Again, I talked about this on a podcast a long time ago. He basically says, we left this rule open so we don't have, drivers sitting on the side of the road in dangerous situations when they need to go to and get to some safe parking. And that's exactly the situation I was in. So anyway, I told the dispatcher what was going on. And he said I could not use the off-duty PC for anything but bobtailing to a hotel, which honestly has not been true since the very beginning of the PC. Even in PC, when it first started, you could use it to go get something to eat or whatever, and it never said bobtailing only either. You could take an empty trailer when the off-duty personal conveyance first came around. So this dispatcher was wrong on so many levels. And I told him respectfully, you are wrong about this. And I know you're wrong about it. And, what am I supposed to do? And he said, well, I don't know, but you can't use off-duty PC to pull that load the rest of the way where you're going. By the way, our yard was the closest place, was the nearest safe haven. So I knew I was legal to do it. And I felt I was legal to do it. So I told him I was just going to have to do it. Next thing you know, I get a letter. So anyway, I wrote a letter of protest, quoting Joe De Lorenzo and everything, and that letter has not been rescinded. Now, a letter is not that big of a deal when you are a union worker, so as long as you don't get 2 or 3 of them, then you're in trouble. But the first one's just kind of like hey, watch it, buddy. But anyway, here is the tip of the day. If you get in this situation, I was advised by E-Log department later on that what I should have used is the adverse driving condition. Now, we talked about this before, but you may be remembering that that was mainly used for like weather, like in weather related incidents, like, ice or snow or fog that delayed you or something like that. But it can be used for other things. Basically, the criteria for using adverse driving conditions is anything that could not be foreseen before you took off. So, for instance, you can't use it if you take off in a snowstorm and it's snowing and it's bad out. You can't claim that exemption, which, by the way, that exemption gives you 2 extra driving hours and 2 extra on-duty hours. So, on a normal day, it could take you up to 13 hours of driving and 16 hours of on-duty. So, anyway, you can't really use that, like I said, unless you were actually surprised by the incident that has happened. And this is what had happened with this. This was, I don't know if it was a wreck or if it was construction or what, but there was a huge delay that I was not expecting. So I could have used that perfectly legal then. And I found out that in my logs, I tap a few buttons and I can find it. It's buried, probably because they don't want you to use it, because drivers would abuse it if they knew it was there. Don't abuse it. Use it when you have to. So anyway, it's in there, and it was under adverse driving conditions. That's the name of the exemption. And there was options for fog, sleet, snow, ice, wind, hail, all kinds of reasons. And then there was one at the bottom that said other. And so I tapped other and put in there a traffic incident. Again, I did this after the fact when it was already too late. Me and the E-log guy went back and fixed it afterwards. But anyway, just so you know, if you're ever in a situation like that technically you're not supposed to use off-duty PC to get off the road. That is basically for, like if you are at a shipper or receiver and they are telling you run out of time while you're on their property and they are telling you cannot stay here, then you are allowed to use off-duty PC to get someplace to a safe haven. Again, that's the nearest location, and it does not matter if you're loaded or empty, and it does not matter which direction you are traveling. So anyway, lots of good information about off-duty PC out there nowadays in these articles from overdriveonline.com, places like that. But there are also a lot of contradicting articles. And clearly, according to what this article right here says, that this is the thing that truckers are getting in trouble for most when it comes to falsifying logs, because it's a gray area and truckers are pushing it too far. And just like I did. Now, thankfully, I just got in trouble with my company and not with DOT. The ironic thing is if I had been parked on the side of the road and just decided to sit there and be stubborn and be in an unsafe situation, if a cop had come along and told me to move, I could have used off-duty PC for that. That is part of the rules. If the cop tells you to move to a safe haven and get off the road, you can do that. So I don't know. Maybe I could have done that, just been stubborn, but I felt it was better to get out of that unsafe situation and just deal with the consequences. And the consequences I got. So long story short for this little article, but it is a very good article. Please go check it out. If you're only going to check out one article out of this whole podcast, this is the one to go check out, and it will have the most impact on your daily life as a trucker. Again, overdriveonline.com, link in the show notes, of course. All right, the evil overlord just brought me some hot peach tea, so I think I'm good to go. All right, here we go. We just talked about the little violation I got. Well, according to this next article over on overdriveonline.com, that could be considered a misdemeanor or a felony. Who knew? And this one's called Some Safety Violations Can Turn into Misdemeanor or Felony Convictions. This is one of those excellent trucking law articles over there at overdriveonline.com. So basically there are, most drivers assume they only have the risk, that if they get a ticket or they can get placed out of service, they can get marks on their CSA score, that kind of thing. But there are actually many things that a trucker can do that are actually criminal penalties. Now, usually this comes from like, if you have an accident that causes a fatality or something like that, they're going to dig into your records. Any little thing you do wrong, they're going to nail you on, so this is where you got to be careful. Like, one of the main things they can get you on is falsification of logs. This is actually a felony. The U.S. Criminal Code Section 18 U.S.C. 1001 says it's a felony when any individual makes or uses any false writing or document knowing the same to contain any material, falsely, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or entry. This crime is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Yes, that's just for falsifying a logbook, so don't do it. And by the way, this also would count for just disconnecting your ELD and driving where you're going. And of course, one of the big faults here again is this off-duty PC that we were just talking about. You may perceive that you're doing something right when you're actually not, and that could come back to haunt you. And for the record, when it comes to these falsifying these documents, it's not just e-logs. It's also like falsifying an inspection report, saying that a truck is good to go when it's actually not, or like your employment history when you're filing for a new job, that kind of a thing. All that stuff is considered a felony if you get caught doing it. So it's not worth it. Don't do it. Some of these things actually, will have a fine, or even like a misdemeanor can have up to like 90 days in jail, that kind of a thing. It's set by each state. So it depends on where you get nailed for whatever you did. So anyway, for more details on that part of this, check out the link in the show notes. Another area you can get busted for, or a misdemeanor or a felony, is bumping weights of household goods. Now, I didn't know about this, but if you, it's actually a crime to list a false weight on your bill of lading. I personally don't know why you would want to do that, but if you do that, you have to make sure that the product is accurately recorded. So, that's a good case for actually, standing on the dock and watch somebody load it. Although, let's be honest, most truckers are not going to do that. Just be aware you could get up to 2 years in prison if you falsify the weight on your bill of lading. And this last one here is, well, I'm just going to have to read it to you because I've read it like 5 times and I'm still a bit confused by it. So I'll just read it and you can make of it what you're going to. This one is coercion in hiring a lumper. And the article quotes, "Many drivers are unaware of the lumper law, which prohibits a shipper or receiver from coercing a carrier into hiring and paying for someone to assist in loading or unloading. The law provides that if the shipper or receiver requires that the carrier be assisted in loading or unloading, the shipper or receiver is responsible to the truck owner or operator for the cost of the lumper." Now, Paul O. Taylor is the managing partner of Truckers Justice Center. I'll have all his information in the show notes here if you got any questions about this stuff. But he states in here, he said, "I read the statute as allowing situations where the trucker pays the lumper and the shipper reimburses the trucker. But if a shipper or receiver requires the truck owner or operator to hire a lumper without getting reimbursed, then they have committed a felony." So that felony would actually be on the shipper or the receiver. So anyway, just know your rights on that one. And like I said, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one a little bit because I don't deal with lumpers very often. Quite honestly, most of the places I ever went, my company did not want me lumping anything, but apparently they have to actually give you the ability to lump the load yourself, or they have to be willing to reimburse it, if I am reading that right. But hey, don't take my word on it. Call Paul O. Taylor at Truckers Justice Center and check that out. That's truckerjusticecenter.com. And I will read you this phone number if you're ready for it. And again, it will be in the show notes. His number is 855-943-3518. And that is Paul O. Taylor. All right, onward. So if you remember in the last episode, we talked a lot about taxes. Yeah, well, tax day has come and gone. I believe it was April 15th, and let's hope you got everything filed on time. But if you did not, you can get an extension on that. I don't think you can get an extension on what you owe, which is a little weird because how much do you know how much you owe if you haven't filed yet? I've never quite made sense of that, honestly, but hey, it's the IRS. How am I supposed to understand that? I don't even think they understand their own rules. So anyway, this next article, which was found on overdriveonline.com, covers some issues that have been in confusion lately. We've had some tax changes lately with the Trump thing, and Trump changed some of the tax stuff, and then with the COVID relief bill and all that stuff, it's caused some confusion, I guess. And some truckers were thinking that they were going to be claiming 100% of their per diem. That's, where we get to claim, as over-the-road truckers, we get to claim so many dollars per day for eating and expenses and things like that. Now, that expense has been $66 per day in recent years. And like I said, there was some confusion. Some truckers were thinking they were going to be able to claim that whole $66, but that is untrue. That has been confirmed that it is unchanged, and you will still only be able to claim 80% of that total, which actually totals $52.80 per day. And that's for any day that you spend out on the road away from your house. So for all the details about this, check out the link in the show notes. They do go on to say that, most owner operators would probably be better off using their per diem method than using the full business meal expense, because, there's certain things that apply under that, like you can't just eat by yourself and say it's a business expense, but, for instance, you have a new employee and you take them to lunch or something like that, or you have a dinner with a client or a new business partner or something, you could claim that, or, maybe take your mechanic to lunch or something like that. That would be a total 100% for that particular meal, but that probably won't add up to more than what the per diem per day for you being out on the road all year long. So just do the math there, or let your accountant do the math. And while we're on taxes here, I read this quick little article. Shortest article I ever saw. These are actually sponsored by a TBS factoring service. They just write these tiny little articles called Partners in Business over on overdriveonline.com. And this one is to say that basically you need to make sure as a trucker that you have a home residence. And that makes sense if you actually think about it, because, if you want to claim this over the road per diem, you have to actually say you're away from your home. But if you don't have a home, how are you going to justify that? If you live in your truck, that's just your way of life. That's the life that you've chosen. So you don't actually qualify for that per diem thing unless you have a home residence. So if you don't have that now, get one, even if that's like a sister's house or a brother or a mom or dad or something like that. Or even a friend. You could say you live there, and then you will be eligible for that daily per diem. So just so you know, if you want to avoid a tax audit, make sure you have a home address listed. Home address is not your license plate number. Sorry to inform you. That's a bad plan. All right, next up, you remember the story we covered a episode ago, might have been 1 and 2 episodes ago, about the Canada, rolling out their hours of service. Well, not their hours of service. What are they rolling out? Their ELD mandate. That's what it was. So anyway, got a little bit of follow up on that. If you remember right, in the last episode, there was basically no ELD device was ready to be used up there in Canada. And that's mainly because Canada was using a third party to evaluate each system and making sure it was compliant with their rules. Whereas, the U.S. was just like, hey, you put it out there, and if we find something wrong with it later, you'll be responsible for it. So, basically being self-responsible for it, or, having the government responsible for it. I have a political statement here to say, but I won't say it. Okay. So anyway, apparently Big Road is one of the first ELD systems to be ready to use up in Canada when that rolls around. They've already got 100,000 drivers and fleets in North America are already using Big Road. So if you're using Big Road now, you will be compliant by the time you need to be legal in Canada, or, if you're in Canada. And of course, if you're your particular ELD device that is not compliant yet and you want to go ahead and get an early jump on this, you might want to consider jumping over to Big Road. I don't know anything about their system. I know, like I said, a lot of people use it. They say their ELDs is a full stack solution. It's a plug and play device featuring hours of service alerts. It's got the DVIR in it, the daily vehicle inspection report. Yeah. Can't believe I had to think about that one. It's got the DOT inspection mode. It's got fuel tracking for the IFTA stuff. And it's even got a free digital load matching platform built into the device. So if find yourself in the need for a device to use in Canada and in the USA, check out the Big Road. No affiliation here. So nothing on my part, just saw that they were ready for this. And they were the first ones I've seen that's actually ready for Canada. So if you're interested in this, go and check out fleetcomplete.com, link in the show notes. Hey, let me ask you a question. What prompted you to want to own your own truck? You know, I'm betting a lot of that decision came down to wanting to make more money, right? So exactly why are you driving around in that fuel guzzling engine? Sure, you may think you're all that in a box of chocolates as your jakes reverberate through the truck stop parking lot. But hey, when the profit and loss statement comes in each month, you're actually more like a big box of chocolate goo that's been left in the backseat of a car all August. Well, it's time to get your act together. And you can start by heading over to volvotrucks.us to check out Volvo's new D13 turbo compound engine that comes in their awesome VNL line of trucks. And hey, I'm sure as an owner-operator, you already know that up to a third of your operating expenses go to fuel cost. That's why it's so cool that the D13 turbo compound is 6% more fuel efficient than their D13s and up to 11% over their 2015 engines. That's a big jump, man. Now, the way Volvo manages to get such good fuel efficiency out of their D13 turbo compound is they have this new wave-shaped piston design that burns fuel way more efficiently than most engines. And any energy that does manage to escape the grasp of the mighty wave-shaped piston design is quickly recaptured and reused by the turbo compound unit. And you know, the D13 turbo compound is really smart too. It adjusts torque to what you need. So if you got a light load, it uses a little bit of torque. But if you got a heavy load, it's going to give you everything it's got. But hey, there's no way I can possibly explain how the D13 turbo compound engine works as well as Volvo themselves. So head on over to volvotrucks.us and check out the video. I put a link in the show notes that'll take you directly to the video on how that engine works. So quit being a gooey mess of chocolate and get back to being a nice Forrest Gump-like box of chocolates. For more information, head on over to volvotrucks.us or just click the link in the show notes. And thanks to Volvo Trucks for sponsoring this episode of Trucker Dump. All right, next up, let's talk about this new VMT. That's the vehicle miles traveled tax that they're trying to push in Washington. Okay, there's a couple articles here on freightwaves.com. You can check them both out. The first one really goes into a lot of numbers about, you know, the price tag and how much this thing is going to cost. Like I said, there's a lot of numbers in here, but they're estimating this is going to cost the government $20 billion to get this thing set up if they were going to do it. Now, I can't remember which one of these articles that I read said something about, you know, that this is not a change that's going to be done overnight. There's a lot of issues to work out, and they're looking at possibly like 10 years down the road that this is actually going to be implemented if they can get it through at all. But, you know, I know this is very unpopular with a lot of people, but something's going to have to be done because, you know, we all know, again, I've said this before and sorry for repeating it, but we all know the world is going to electric. They're trying to get, you know, most car manufacturers are saying they're going to have electric models. Some are even saying they're going to weed out all, you know, gasoline engines. So, you know, over time, that fuel tax is not going to work to pay for our roads. So they got to figure something out. And this seems like sadly, the best option, but all kinds of stuff to work through here, of course. And, you know, for instance, one of the things they say they really need to convince people that it's hard to get on board with a lot of people because they need to make sure, well, they list 3 things here that it has to do. It has to be fair to everyone, which right now it sure doesn't seem like it is because truckers are paying a hefty portion of it, right? Some states are already doing, I can't remember which ones. Let me look at this other article. I believe it's, it's Kentucky, New Mexico, New York, and Oregon already are levying a commercial truck vehicle mile traveled fee. So they're already doing it. And actually those fees are all over the map too. So that's kind of an issue too. But anyway, let's get back to this. It must be fair. So, you can't be able to cheat it. They want to make sure you can't cheat it, and it has to be fair to everybody. It's got to be unintrusive. They don't want, the system to be able to track you as an individual. The idea here is to get people to pay for their time on the roads and not to actually track you. Which is a good thing. Nobody likes to be tracked. And the third thing is cost efficiency. It has to be, it has to pay for itself, like I said, just $20 billion price tag on this thing. So, if it costs more to actually collect this data than it does then people are actually paying in for the roads, then, well, it kind of doesn't make any sense, does it? So they need to figure those things out. Again, all those numbers are in the first article in the show notes there. Check that out. And the second article just goes into, it's actually called Can Taxing Trucks on Miles Traveled Work? Well, I don't know. I mean, the fund that I learned this, I didn't know this. So there's something called the HTF. Probably should have known this. It's called the Highway Trust Fund. And that's where all of the money goes into this fund. All these taxes paid towards the roads and stuff that truckers pay, and actually, four-wheelers pay also. Anything at the fuel pump, any taxes on that go into this fund, and it's for managing, maintaining roads and bridges and stuff like that. By the way, good job. I can tell it's working, right? Look down there in Memphis. We got so many bad roads and bridges in this country. Where's all that money going? Interesting. Well, anyway, that other article did actually say that there will be a lot more money available for roads and bridges and things like that if, they implement this vehicle traveled miles, whatever, the VMT. Boy, not talking very well today. What a surprise. But anyway, there was apparently a study in 2019 of the Congressional Budget Office, that's a CBO, and they pointed to 3 areas that they're going to have to be addressed by lawmakers before any of this can be rolled out. First is the tax base. And this they're just talking about here. Let me point this out. They're talking about just doing this on trucks, and they're trying to figure out if that would be possible. So my thought is, okay, why just trucks? Why are trucks carrying all the burden on this? I don't know. But they're looking at it. So they're saying, anyway, the tax base, what trucks would be taxed and which roads that tax would apply. So would it just apply on toll roads or just interstates or just U.S. highways or state highways? Who knows? They got to figure all that out. And they want to figure out the rate structure. So would the tax be uniform across all kinds of trucks, depending on weight or configuration, or would they charge more for, say, a oversized vehicle than they would a 5-axle or even a 2-axle straight truck? They haven't figured that out yet, too. And of course, they need to figure out how to implement this and how to actually get the odometer readings. Is it going to come off the odometer readings? Are they going to require radio frequency identifiers on your trucks? Basically, which is the same thing that's on like a toll road, for your toll pass, that kind of a thing. Or are they going to try to get this information through your ELD, which, tracks all your miles and stuff like that? Now, right now, like I said, apparently some of these states have already done some of this stuff, mainly being, like I said, Kentucky, New Mexico, New York, and Oregon. So they've figured out kind of their own guidelines, but of course, a federal guideline would overcome this, in the long run, once they get it all figured out. But right now, Kentucky has the cheapest rates by far. They are charging a flat rate of about 3 cents per mile for all trucks in the state of Kentucky. And the other 3 charge rates that vary by the truck's weight, and that ranges anywhere from about 1 cent per mile to 29 cents per mile. Ouch. 29 cents per mile. Okay. Keep in mind, some of these owner operators are only getting like $1.50 an hour, or not an hour, $1.50 a mile, $2 a mile if it's a good load, Of course, a lot of owner operators are working for cheap, and they're running for $1 a mile or something like that. And if you think about that, 29 cents of that per mile is going towards, wow, you're going to have to raise your rates, aren't you? Something's going to have to happen. Either that or you suck it up. And I don't think a lot of owner operators can afford to just suck up that 29 cents per mile. So anyway, but we're talking here about, why just trucks, Well, apparently there's a think tank, libertarian think tank called the Reason Foundation. And they are arguing that the VMT tax only on commercial trucks would require overcoming fewer obstacles, administrative hurdles and stuff like that. It'd be much easier to just do it on trucks because they've already got, ELDs and stuff like that in them. So it would be easier to do that than like starting to add something extra like a radio frequency, something to the car, or figure out a way to read off the odometer, whatever, well, okay, just because it's easier doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. You're still taxing, one segment for everybody to use those roads. And boy, I just don't think that's right. We'll see how this goes. Of course, the industry is not going down easy on this. For once, groups like the American Trucking Association and, OIDA are all siding against this. They all don't like it. And, they want to raise fuel taxes and not implement the VMT. But again, of course, it is going to be a lot longer for the trucks to all go electric than it is the cars. But, still, something's got to be done about it. So anyway, to sum up, basically they're just still probing this as a possible option, and they are going to have to do something. It's just going to take a while to figure out all of the gory details. So let's just stay tuned on this one for now, I guess. Again, both these links are in the show notes. That's to freightwaves.com if you want to read all of the numbers and more about this. I just kind of summarized those two. All right. Speaking of things that, organizations want from the trucking industry, let's move on to freightwaves.com. This article is called Speed Limiters Automatic Braking on NTSB Most Wanted List. Now, the NTSB, of course, is the National Transportation Safety Board. They meet every year to discuss kind of what they want to do and what they'd like to see to make the roads safer every year. And they, have recommendations for, trucking, marine, rail, aviation, basically any type of transportation. It's not just trucking. But for trucking this year on their most wanted list of the top 10, they didn't give all top 10 here, which was kind of weird. But their biggest ones are, just like the title of the article says, automatic braking and speed limiters. Oh boy. Apparently, they have been after mandatory speed limiters on trucks since the 2019 and 2020 list, and automatic emergency braking has been on the list since 2016. And they cite that, most cars are, I don't know if most cars are required to have it now, but most cars actually have it. A lot of them just included as standard equipment now, and trucks still don't. You have to get it special or add it on, and that's what they're really trying to do. They want to get these things put into trucks, at a factory level where it's required by the manufacturers to put them in. So there's 4 things they're really pushing for right now with regulators. And again, this is the NTSB who's pushing this stuff. They want performance standards for advanced speed limiting technology, such as variable speed limiters and intelligent speed adaptation devices for heavy vehicles, including trucks, buses, motor coaches. And they want to require them again to be manufactured on all these trucks to be manufactured, put in at the manufacturing level. Secondly, they want to, increase awareness of the speeding problem and, try to, more campaigns and stuff like that, trying to get people to slow down. Yeah, that works. We all know that works, right? The third thing they want to do is revise the regulations that, I don't even know if you know about this. I've mentioned on the show before, but I learned about it just by, doing an article about this show one time, but I didn't know this, but the recommended speed limit for an area is based on, right now, it's based on, it has to be within 5 miles an hour of the 85th percentile speed, meaning if 85% of the cars go 70 mile an hour in an area, even if it's a 55 mile an hour zone, they should raise it to within either 75 or 65, within 5 mile an hour of that speed that most people go. So they're trying to get that changed to where that doesn't matter anymore. You know, they don't want to let the drivers be the judge of how fast it is to drive on that road. They want to just say, hey, we want you to go 55. And they're not saying this, but, you know, of course, we all know that also means that if people are still going 70 mile an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone, that means cops can get you for more money, more revenue for the states. I'm sure that has nothing to do with what they want this for. But anyway, the last thing they're requesting is to update speed enforcement guidelines to reflect the latest automated speed enforcement technologies and operating practices, and to promote these guidelines, meaning, you know, the cops will have better ways to pick up on your speed, probably more, you know, cameras at the side of the road and stuff like that, monitoring your speed. They'd probably love to see that, which we wouldn't. We at least want a fighting chance. You know, we want to see a cop sitting over there on the shoulder of the road or in the median, or, you know, be on the CB and say, hey, you know, there's a smoky up ahead. Give us a fighting chance. Of course, you know, if they do start implementing cameras, you know, like on the side of the road on a sign or something like that, we will know about it because of apps like Waze. You know, they would probably add that feature to it. You know, hey, here's a speeding camera at this location, and people would report that, and it would be found out pretty quick, especially if it was a permanent location. Anyway, they're not saying that's what they want to do. I'm just speculating. That seems like what they're saying when they want to update, you know, speed enforcement technologies, stuff like that. So anyway, I think it's a little scary that the number one priority for them is, you know, I don't really mind the automatic emergency braking. I think that can be a good thing if it works correctly. You know, some of the trucks in our fleet will actually just cram on the brakes randomly in a heavy rain or snow or something like that, which is not good. They got to figure that out. But, you know, the other thing of the speed limiters, that's just freaking scary that's high on their list. I do not like that at all. I know that OIDA doesn't like it. I know the ATA does love it. So, you know, the ATA is the American Trucking Association. That's the one that does, you know, most of the big fleets are a part of. The OIDA is owner operator, independent drivers association. That's more for, you know, owner operators. Although you can join that group as a you know, company driver. I got no problem with that. And they will fight for many of the things that you want to fight for as a company driver, but not always. Sometimes those conflict, you know, owner operator stuff conflicts with what a company driver wants. Talked about that many, many times in the past here. But anyway, if you want all the details on this article, go and check it out at freightwaves.com. Link in the show notes. Hey, speaking of technology that can save your life and make you safer as a trucker, check out this one. This one I found on newatlas.com. Never heard of this one before. I saw this, I actually saw this article on Facebook and clicked over to it. Smart anti-rollover coupling can jettison the trailer to save truckies. Interesting. For one, why are they calling them truckies? Is this I don't know. The truckies is usually like an Australian term. Well, anyway, it doesn't say. But anyway, I didn't know this, but, you know, big truck rollovers, they cause about 9,000 injuries per year and about 400 deaths per year. That's in America. So maybe this isn't, I don't know. Maybe this is an American company. Anyway, that's just from rollover accidents alone in Class 8 semi-trucks. So full-size trucks. Weird. I had no idea. The article says that's more deaths than roofers, airline pilots, loggers, garbage men, and oil derrick workers combined. So again, I had no idea there were even that many rollovers, you know, every year, let alone 400 American deaths per year and 9,000 injuries. Interesting. So basically what this thing does, there's a company, it's based out of California. They're called Axicle, AXICLE. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they have a new fifth wheel. It's actually a prototype right now. They've tested it on a, you know, scale of like a 1/10. It's a 1/10 scale. They've tested it on. It works pretty good there. And they're, you know, they have funding to, try it on a full size vehicle and do some testing there. And, you know, their funding will mostly be, based on whether that works out. But it looks like it's going to work well. Anyway, basically what this is a fifth wheel. It looks like a typical fifth wheel, only they call it the TARS, T-A-R-S, the tractor anti-roll system. And, it can handle up to 55,000 pounds. It's easy to unhook, just reach under there and grab it, or with a fifth wheel puller or your hand or whatever, easy to unlatch, all that stuff. But it also has all kinds of electronic smarts in it and stuff. So if it starts to, detect that the tractor and the trailer is starting to roll, if it gets so much off axis, it will basically fire off a anti-rollover release mechanism and just basically shoots kicks the trailer out the back. So, yes, it's going to drop the trailer. Yes, that trailer is either going to land on its landing gear and stay upright, or it's going to fall over and roll over, but at least it's not going to take the tractor with it. Now, you may think, well, that sucks. You're still going to lose the load. You're going to lose the trailer. You're going to lose all the freight on it. True. But that freight can be replaced. 400 drivers cannot be replaced. And not only the 400 deaths that's caused by per year, but also, the ones who do survive often have a hard time dealing with, rollovers. They don't drive well in wind. They freak out. They're just a little bit on edge because, I have a friend who rolled over once, and he's still a little bit leery about it. He doesn't like high wind situations and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of emotional baggage that goes along with that. Now they're saying, the company here, this Axical, is saying that the technology could save $2,000 to $3,000 per year on insurance premiums. And that is coming directly from talking to insurance companies about what they would be willing to go down on their price. Yeah. So it sounds like this could get a $2,000 to $3,000 discount on a trucker's insurance if they have this device installed. The cost will be around $4,000. So just in a matter of a couple of years, you'll get all your money back on this thing. Anyway, like I said, it's kind of a neat technology. It would be interesting to see it. I want to see the first full test, honestly, on a full size vehicle. Screw that 1/10 thing. That's just a little model crashing. Yeah, I want to see a full size truck just rolled over on purpose. That would be pretty cool. Obviously, with the dummy and a dummy in the driver's seat. And I'm not talking about a trucker. I'm talking about a real dummy. So anyway, like I say, this is not coming out right away. It's still in testing phase. It's not even been put into full production yet, but they say once it does, they'll be able to kick out about 100,000 of these units per year. And, hey, anything that can help save trucker lives, great. Sounds good. For all the details on this, go check out the link in the show notes, because you'll probably never remember, newaatlas.com. All right, sticking with the theme of technology in trucks, here's one from overdriveonline.com. Autonomous truck maker says it has nearly 7,000 driverless truck orders. All right, so you have heard of TuSimple before. I've spoken about them on the podcast here. That is spelled TuSimple. They are a company that specializes in self-driving technology. And they have a partnership with International, which is Navistar. And according to this article, they have received about 6,700, a little over 6,700 reservations for new autonomous trucks. Now, if you remember right, level 4 means the vehicle does not require human intervention in the event of a problem or a system failure. So, now, before you freak out, they say with a partnership with Navistar, the self-driving trucks will be first manufactured in 2024. Among the first customers are going to be Penske Truck Leasing, Schneider, and U.S. Express, among other large freight transportations in North America. Now, keep in mind, this is already going on. TuSimple has a thing they call the Autonomous Freight Network, and it currently operates a fleet of 50 of these trucks across Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, and they plan to expand that coast to coast by 2023. Right now, they're running freight for, on the highways and surface streets for UPS, US Express, and the Arizona Association of Food Banks. Now, keep in mind, some of these people are jumping on board because they're shareholders. For instance, Navistar, Schneider, and US Express they all own a lot of shares in TuSimple, so, they want it to succeed. and Penske Truck and U.S. Express are also among the partners of the autonomous freight network. So they all got a stake in this to make this work. But before you freak out and think there's going to be, oh my God, 2024, we're going to have a bunch of driverless trucks on the road. I will point out that which by the way is what I did when I first read this article. But apparently this does say, it says it has received 6,775 reservations for a new line of purpose-built SAE Level 4 International LT Series autonomous trucks. That I think is the key. Purpose-built. I mean, I don't think these are just going to be out there just running willy-nilly all over the country. I think when they say purpose-built, they mean purpose-built. It's going to be used for, local deliveries for UPS or, say, U.S. Express or Schneider has loads going from a specific location to a specific location every day. It's going to take care of that because it knows the route. It can program it in. It's what they know. It's well marked, that kind of a thing. So, I doubt, by 2024, we're going to be seeing, almost 7,000 of these trucks just tooling down the highway and we're all going to be freaking out. I don't think that's probably going to happen. It could, but I doubt it. So anyway, just to be aware, hey, if you see some trucks coming out, well, like say 2024, that's still a ways off, but hey, it's coming, and it just goes to show that there is some faith in these driverless trucks and they are pushing it forward. Prepare yourself. You got 3 years to do it. All right. Next up, let's discuss something everyone loves, the DMV. Yes, the Department of Motor Vehicles. We all love going there, right? It's so much fun. We've had this thing for a long time where we've known that they're trying to get this implemented where, when a trucker goes and gets their DOT certification, their physical, that, the state license bureaus or whatever are just supposed to, it's supposed to be able to be transferred over there and go directly on your license, and you don't have to be messing with this. Well, this has supposed to have happened a long time ago. The original rule was set from June 22nd of 2018 to June 22nd of 2021. And now that we're coming up on that, they're now proposing to delay this until 2025. The FMC says the delay will give the agency, quote, time to complete certain information technology system development task for its National Registry of Certified Medical Examiners and to provide the state driver's licensing agencies sufficient time to make the necessary IT programming changes after the new registration system is available. Well, that's a mouthful, all to say that they're just not ready. I don't know why they're not ready. Now, there's a common problem. I'm kind of a nerd, you know that. But, often as regular people, we say, it can't be that hard, can it? Especially when it comes to like software and things like that. How hard can it be, to add this one little feature? Well, it might be pretty hard. So maybe this is one of these situations where I'm thinking this, but to me, it makes no sense why this is so freaking hard to do. I mean, right now, the way it works is, you go get your license or you go get your medical exam from a certified person, which is either your company sends you there or you go to the National Registry and see, find a doctor who's on that board to be able to give these DOT physicals. You get it done. Examiner has by midnight, the day after the exam is completed, to upload those results to the FMCSA. And then the FMCSA sends the results to the state agencies. And then supposedly it's done. But for some reason, that's not happening. Now, again, I don't understand in today's digital age how, they can't just scan a document. They can't just hit a few buttons, just make it go through the system pretty quick. Why has it got to take so freaking long to do this? Why are we still required to take our DOT long form or whatever down to the DMV, stand in line forever, and then they charge you $2 to upgrade it or something. You don't get a new license or anything like that. It's just a button they push in the computer saying, yep, this guy's certified again. So I don't understand it. Never will. And I probably won't understand it until 2025. So anyway, don't expect that little joy in our life. I was so looking forward to the day where, I just went to the doctor, got my DOT physical, and it was a done deal. Well, we're just going to have to keep on doing it till 2025. Now, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard some states have already implemented this. And if that's true, please let me know. If your state does not require you to turn in your DOT physical to the DMV, please let me know. You can email me at truckerdump@gmail.com, truckerdump@gmail.com. Seriously, I would like to hear it, because if one state can do it, then why don't they just take whatever they're doing and copy it across all the states? I realize states are independent things, but for something like this, it seems like a pretty straightforward action. This document has to go to this company, and then this company sends it to another company, and it's done. It seems like a pretty straightforward process. So if there's a state out there that's doing this, please let me know. Again, truckerdump@gmail.com. And of course, once that's done, I will call them, tell them who I am. Do they not realize I'm the host of the Trucker Dump podcast? And tell them how important I am. And then I'm sure they'll act on that, right? Right? Okay, maybe not. It'd still be nice to know for my own, my own knowledge. All right, this next topic may not be very popular, but here we go. No, it's not about politics. Well, not really. So stay tuned. Okay. Okay. For those of you who don't know me very well, I ask a lot of questions. Always have, as far as I know. I try not to just take the source of one thing. If somebody tells me something, I'm like, yeah, prove it. I want to know. Maybe it's because I'm from Missouri and we are the show me state, but I just don't take, because someone says something, I just don't take it as gospel. I often like to go out and find out for myself and get multiple sources from that. So with that being said, I am not trying to influence anybody one way or another on this. This is your choice. And of course, we are talking about the COVID-19 vaccinations. Okay. Big topic. Got a lot of political stuff to go along with this, but this article here, I will say, is from overdriveonline.com, and it does have a tendency to side with the go get your vaccine thing. I am not saying that. That is your choice. This is America. As far as I'm concerned, you can do what you want. This article is written by Alexander E. Underwood. He works at the KT Health Clinic near Springfield, Missouri. I'll have all of his information in the show notes. Sounds like everything he has to say about it here is in the article, though. Anyway, what this article is called is Debunking Truckers' 4 Favorite Myths About COVID-19 Vaccinations. So we've all heard all of the myths. What is it a myth? Who knows? We've just all heard all the reasons why you don't want to do it. And here is what they're saying. Again, I'm not taking sides here. I'm just saying, read this, and you can decide from there. But just don't go off what somebody says on Facebook or some conspiracy theory podcast says or something like that. Just, use your brain. Use your brain, people, okay? Now, the myth number 1 is that the vaccine was rushed and none of the side effects are known. Well, apparently this mRNA protein thing that these vaccines they've been doing this for years. I did go out, like I said, and I like to research this stuff myself. So I went out and got a couple of medical papers and read those. It was very hard to get through all of the medical jargon, but I got the gist of it. And a lot of this is confirmed from what I've read. It says that, that what they're talking about here, basically that it's rushed and, it hasn't been tested properly. But this coronavirus vaccine is basically the same technology that's been used in the flu for years. It's not exactly, but it's very close. And that has been tested for many, many years. So they don't anticipate there's going to be a problem with it. And that's why it got through the U.S. Food and Drug Administration without actually being approved, so to speak. It got emergency approval. That's why, and hey, if you start growing a second nose or something like that later on in life, by getting the vaccine, then, well, clearly they were wrong. And that's the risk you take if you're going to take the vaccine. But again, it's probably not likely because, like I say, the flu vaccine has had this going on for quite a while and people don't have any weird side effects from that. Most of the time they just get sick or something like that, by getting the shot, which is happening with the COVID-19 vaccination also. The second myth here is that the COVID-19 vaccine will alter your DNA. I've heard this one quite a bit. That's kind of a conspiracy theory out there. And I read a separate paper about this, medical paper. I again, man, wow, DNA, complicated stuff. But I got the gist of it. And basically these mRNA vaccines will enter your cells, but it can never enter the nucleus of the cell, which is required because that's where the DNA is. So if it can't get through, it's just forming these proteins on the outside of the cell as the vaccine. So it can't actually get into the inner part of the cell. So there's basically no chance that the DNA can be altered. So anyway, take that one or leave it. Myth number 3 is I had COVID-19, so I don't need a vaccine. Well, okay. It's been proven over and over again. I've read about this myself that people do get reinfected. They thought in the beginning, once you got infected, you wouldn't again. But, just like the flu, every year it alters a little bit. So, as it changes, you can get a different strain of it. And that has happened. So don't just go by that, you don't need a vaccine if you've already had it. And the number 4 myth is probably the craziest one out there. And that's that there are microchips secretly placed in the COVID vaccines to track you and everything. This is the whole Bill Gates, because he's behind some of the vaccine stuff, that he's implanted these RFID chips in it and they're going to track you all over the world. With that, I don't really know how that would benefit them, honestly, to track you. What do they care if you go down to the porn shop or wherever you're at? I don't know how that benefits anybody. I don't know how that kind of a rumor got started, but now this article does say currently there is no technology to insert a tracking device like this through or an RFID chip through a liquid like this into your system and it just run around in your blood. They say that doesn't exist. Of course, that's what conspiracy theorists would say, wouldn't it? Well, of course they're going to say that. So anyway, like I said, take this or leave this. I'm just going to put it out there that do your research. Don't just take the word of one person. If you've got other reasons not to take it, whatever they may be, don't take it. But if these are the reasons that you're holding out, don't be holding out. Okay. All right. Sticking with the COVID theme, let's go over to fleetowner.com and check out this article called Cleaning Truck Cabs in the Age of COVID. All right. I didn't really think about cleaning cabs much when I was on over the road driver because, I had my own truck. Hardly anybody was ever in it. I didn't have to wipe down surfaces, stuff like that. But once I went LTL and, I was sharing trucks with people, I drive when I'm in the hotel during the day. There's a city driver driving it during the day. And, so he's been in it all day long. I don't know where he's been. I don't know what he's been touching. For all I know, he's got his hand down his pants all day long. Who knows? So, anyway, that's kind of when I got into this job, and everybody just has a habit of wiping down their trucks before they get in, or a lot of drivers do. And, with just some of those Lysol wipes or those Clorox wipes or something like that. And anyway, I was reading along in here and it looks like that may not actually do a lot of good for what I've been doing. So anyway, this is just an article. It does have a list called List In, like the letter N, and it gives you a list of detergents and stuff like that will actually kill the coronavirus. But they say to be wary of, stuff that says kills on contact or, it'll kill the COVID, because you have to read the fine print often, like it'll say it'll kill COVID, but what it actually means is you have to keep whatever surface it is for, wet from 15 seconds up to 10 minutes. And, I can tell you from using those Clorox wipes in my truck that I wipe down the steering wheel or whatever, and it's not wet for 15 seconds. It dries pretty quick. So it's probably all just in my mind that I'm doing that for anyway. But then again, I'm not trying to really kill the COVID. Even before the COVID came along, I was just trying to kill like everyday, germs so I didn't catch somebody's cold or, get somebody's butt funk on my hands or something like that, So anyway, none of this may do you any good, But if you're interested in how to get rid of the COVID out of your truck for whatever reason, this article goes into telling you how to clean each part of your cabs, the switches, controls, the seat belts, even the air in there, seat cushions, all that kind of stuff. So again, I'm not going to go into great detail here because honestly, I don't think most of you truck drivers are probably going to go through all of this pain in the butt, especially since COVID is not proven to be transmitted through surface stuff most of the time. I think pretty early on, they established that it was pretty much airborne. So, if you want to go through all this, if you're super paranoid, then, hey, there's the article for you. Again, that's fleetowner.com. Check it out in the show notes, link in the show notes. All right. Now I just mentioned how much, most truckers probably won't take the time to do this cleaning kind of a thing. Well, this next article deals with time. This is on overdriveonline.com, and it's called Know the Value of Your Time to Assess True Profit. Now, this is mainly for owner operators, but it can be used in your everyday life. The whole point of the article is that you need to evaluate what you're doing with your time and decide whether that is worth your time. So for instance, in the last article, is it worth it for you to spend, 15, 30 minutes cleaning up your truck every single day just to get rid of a COVID, if COVID's even in your truck, on your surfaces? You have to decide what that is. But I am not going to go into great detail here because I am not an owner operator, and that's mainly what this is driving at here. It goes into, stuff like keeping your pay separate from the business profit and losses. You got to keep that separate and figure that into your I can't even think of what the word is, into your math, whatever, you know what I'm talking about, into the equation. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. But it goes into, what you need to do, your calculation. So, how much your loads are costing you, how much your time's worth, your variable costs, your fixed costs, your total costs, the rate paid to the truck, your profit, profit plus salary, your profit plus salary per day. All this stuff is good to know and, wise to make a decision on. And, times when I think of stuff like this, how your time is valuable, I think of, instances where, an owner operator will take a load and they'll say, oh, well, this is an excellent load. It pays, $3,000. And you go, okay, when's it deliver? Oh, 3 days from now. Okay. Well, you can get it there in a day and a half, say. What are you going to do with that other day and a half? That's just wasted time. You're just sitting there waiting to deliver. So you got to figure that kind of stuff into your calculations too. So again, this is way above my pay grade, but if you are an owner operator, I would highly recommend this article because I see the value in it for you as an owner operator. I don't have a lot of value in it, but check it out if you're an owner operator, especially, or if you're just interested in all this time management stuff. So there you go. Again, overdriveonline.com. All right. Next up, let's revisit an old friend, and that is California's AB5 law. This is the one that talked about drivers who are leased to a company are actually leased. Can they actually claim themselves to be independent owner operators, or do they have to consider themselves employees? Well, California has ruled on this, and apparently the federal court has agreed with them on this. So right now, this is only taking place in California, and it's probably going to change the entire model and what leased owner operators are able to get away with. Maybe you won't even be able to consider yourself an independent contractor. There is a lot going on here. There are two really long articles on overdriveonline.com. I'll have a link to both of them, and I'm not going to go into great detail because we've beaten these things, beaten the dead horse to an inch of its life. So, if it pertains to you, basically it sounds like, if you live in California or you operate in California, that is the people who's going to be dealing with this and all these changes that are coming up. So, like I said, check it out for yourself. And the scariest thing about this is applies in California only right now, the way I understand it. But, lots of things come from California, even though they can't run their own stinking economy and they suck at lots of things. For some reason, everybody in the United States says, hey, California's doing it. Let's do it too. That'll be a great idea. So anyway, hopefully this won't continue on, and somewhere it'll get stricken down. Or, if not, truckers are they're a group that's not going to take a line down. They'll just figure out a way around it, or, change their business plans or whatever they need to do. They will figure something out. But like I said, if you are an owner operator, go ahead and check out these articles, because they probably are very relevant to you. Especially that second article, it goes into the likely next steps, the wait and see mode, unanswered questions, all that kind of thing. So be sure to check out especially the second link here. All right, let's move on. About done with the news here. All right, now this next article, we're going to be hitting on some political stuff. Don't go away just yet. Hang on. Okay. I know some of you think, hey, this is a conservative host talking about a left president, so it's going to be bad. Right now I'm just the messenger. Don't kill the messenger. This is an article on overdriveonline.com, and don't even kill overdriveonline.com. They're just doing a poll about what they think about what's coming from this Biden administration, and it doesn't look good. It shows, again, this is just the opinions of about, I think they said 250 people who took this poll for overdriveonline.com. So that is a small sample of truckers, and it is just truckers, not, everybody in the world. So anyway, it says higher costs, reduced opportunity, worries dominate small fleets, Biden administration outlook. So I'm not going to go into all the details. Basically, it looks like, 63% see extremely negative as what's going to happen with the Biden administration due to regulations, more regulations, things like that. They even question the health of Biden, and how that will affect the whole thing. So there's an infographic on here talking about, the costs that they expect to ensue, that most of them expect their business costs to go up because of the new administration. They think there'll be less opportunity because of the economic decisions that are being made. They're just, it's not a pretty article. So if you're a Democrat, you may not want to go read this, but it doesn't look like most of the people who took this survey are Democrats. Again, don't kill the messenger. I'm just passing on the word. And speaking of President Biden, he has gotten around to finally naming a nominee for the FMCSA boss, and it is no other than Mira Joshi, who is the acting administration right now. They were trying to find somebody suitable, and I said back then, well, she kind of looks like she's got a lot of cred. I wonder why they're passing her up, Well, apparently somebody thought, hey, why are we passing her up? So anyway, I don't know how well she'll do for this. I think her first announcement was, her first major announcement at a conference or whatever was talking about how, we need to start looking out for what's going to happen in the future for jobless, for truckers not having jobs because driverless trucks are taking away their jobs. Now, she said this wasn't going to be immediately, but they did want to get a jump on it in the future. And I think that's probably a good idea. It's not exactly the message you want to send to truckers as soon as you get into office, that, hey, you're going to start looking for a new job. But I think it is, does show that she's forward looking, and, it's better to jump on something ahead of time than wait till the last second. I mean, look at this whole driver's license, get your DOT thing on it. They've been looking at that for years and still can't get it done. So you don't want to come upon this where all of a sudden there's driverless trucks everywhere and truckers don't have jobs. They don't have new training for jobs or anything like that. So again, that's a side note. Again, Joshi, she was the chair and CEO for the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission, and she was a general manager for a New York-based transportation firm called Sam Schwartz. She looks like she's got some experience, doing all this kind of stuff in the government and, with regulations and things like that. So hopefully she will work out well for everyone. Ms. Joshi, best of luck to you. I hope you do a good job for us all. And again, at the time of this article, she was not confirmed yet, but this was back in April. So I don't know what it takes to get confirmed, but the announcement was made at least, and I haven't seen any updates since. So I can't imagine. It doesn't look like there's anything in her, anything questionable in here that, if they let Pete Buttigieg in with his little bit of experience, I can't imagine they're gonna keep Miss Joshi out of this job. All right, let's move on and get away from this political stuff before everyone writes me hate mail. Hey, this next to the last article is from overdriveonline.com, and I just wanted to point it out because, ever since 2007 and where all these EPA regulations have come about, trucks have gotten less and less reliable. And it seems like most of the time nowadays, I'd love to see some actual numbers on this, but it seems like most of the time, this is, if the truck's going to the shop, it has something to do with emissions, and one big thing a lot of companies are dealing with now are these DPF filters, these diesel particulate filters. Is that right? That sounds right. If it's not, don't write me, please. I just understand I'm wrong about this stuff. Anyway, this is an article explaining 3 ways to extend DPF life and keep filters running cleaner. Now, I'm not a mechanic. I don't understand most of this stuff, but let me give you the 3 and you can read further on this at overdriveonline.com. The first they say is to watch out for oil consumption. I don't really know what they expect you to do about that. If a truck burns oil, it burns oil. I don't know. Maybe you could have a rebuild or something like that. I don't know. Again, read it yourself. Figure that one out. It says use a coolant heater. I don't know exactly how that helps either, but you will probably understand that if you're mechanically minded. So it just says, let's see, by preheating the engine oil, we're able to reduce a lot of soot and smoke on startup. Keep that oil warm before the engine starts up. And the last one they mention is opt for biodiesel, which I don't know anything about. I've heard some people don't like it. I don't really know why that is. And I don't really care because I drive a truck for someone else and they tell me what fuel to put in it. And, with my current job, they even do it most of the time for me. So again, if you are an owner operator, own your own truck and DPF is getting you into shops more often, you probably might want to pay attention to this article and check it out. Maybe you can reduce your maintenance costs a little bit. Keep those check engine lights from coming on all the time. Again, link in the show notes to that article, which is on overdriveonline.com. All right, to finish up, do you remember the review I did of the Garmin Diesel OTR 1000? That's the truck GPS. I did that back on episode 151. You remember that? Yeah, well, they've come out with a new model and actually a new feature in all of the current models also. Okay, now before I go on, I will say there will be an affiliate link in here if you want to purchase this new device. This is not an ad. This is that's an affiliate link to, I'll get a bit of a kickback on that if you go with this. Now, this new device is a 5-inch. It's called the OTR 500 and it's a 5-inch and it retails for $299 instead of, the next one up is, the 7-inch. It goes $399, 8-inch, $599. And then the big 10-inch that I reviewed, it was, $799. So big difference, about what, $500 difference between the 10-inch and the 5-inch. And actually the 5-inch is a 5.5-inch display. So, it's not that much smaller than the 7. If budget is an issue for you, it has all the same features as far as I can tell. So it just adds a smaller device, easier to transport around with you. Especially for us, LTO guys who are packing in and out every day. That might be a really good, viable option. But this new one, like I said, actually adds a new feature, and this will be updated in all of the new devices. All of the diesel OTR series will have this, and that is the pre-pass way station bypass is built into these devices now. Now, you'll have to have an active pre-pass account for this to work. So I don't know how that works. If you're an owner operator, you'd have your own account, obviously. If you have if you work for a company, if they have one, I'm guessing if they have one, they'll just have, the normal thing up in the window. So you wouldn't really have to worry about it. But for owner operators, if you have your own account, it'll work, but you will have to be connected to the Garmin Drive system, which I talked about quite a lot on the review. Again, you can check that out. That was episode 151. There'll be a link in the show notes to that. Anyway, this is just an addition to the lineup, a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact. I found it to be a pretty useful device, but it was kind of pricey for what it is. So if, like I said, if budget is the main reason keeping you from doing that, well, now there's less of an obstacle. So if you want to check out this device and maybe possibly purchase it, use the affiliate link, please. And I would appreciate that. That will be in the show notes, and go check that out. All right. Good God, I hope I can reduce this down in editing, because I'm showing about an hour and 48 minutes just into the news, and we have not even hit the main topic yet. You know, now that I say main topic, we may not even have a main topic. If this one's that freaking long, I may just skip it this time, because that's a lot of news. I didn't think it was going to be that big, but apparently it was. Wow. All right, let's move on.
Give us a bottle of your finest champagne, 5 shrimp cocktails, and some bread for my brother.
What's that?
Sushi.
Sushi?
Boy, some chicken wings have really hit the spot.
This is a tasty burger.
Don't play with your food, eat it.
You know, since I just played that little intro clip there, you'd think we'd be working our way into a Trucker Grub, right? You know Trucker Grub, right? You know, where we get listeners like you to send in their favorite restaurants that are accessible with a truck or within a short walk from a truck stop or something like that. You tell us all about it, all about the food, the environment, the prices, what your favorite meal is there, that kind of stuff. And you do it in an audio form, and it's so great. Yeah, that one, the one that nobody ever sends anything into. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to take one for the team eventually and start eating out more. You know, that way I can have something to add to this segment. Well, you know, if I just have to take it, you know, I guess I'll just have to. Woe is me. But for now, here's what we're going to do. Something a little fun. You like money, right? Well, yeah, who doesn't like money? How's $50 sound? Okay, here's what's going to happen. The clip that you just heard has 5 clips from movies in it. 5 different movies. If you can name them in order, send them to me and we'll put your name in a hat for a drawing for $50. I'll just send you $50. You can spend it however you want to. I was thinking about doing the, the Trucker Dump merchandise, but hey, let's admit, you probably don't want Trucker Dump merchandise. You'd rather just have $50 to spend how you want to spend it, right? Well, let's do that. Much more fun. So anyway, I will play the clip right now. And again, if you can figure out all 5 of these clips, all I need is in order. I need the name of the movie. So there'll be 5 different movies. Send that to truckerdump@gmail.com. I'll put your name in a hat. As soon as we get, maybe I'll do this 1 month, maybe I'll do it 2 months. It depends on how many entries I get. And then I will do a drawing and I will send that person $50. How's that sound? So again, here is the intro clip and the 5 movies.
Give us a bottle of your finest champagne, 5 shrimp cocktails, and some bread for my brother.
What's that?
Sushi.
Sushi?
Boy, some chicken wings have really hit the spot.
This is a tasty burger.
Don't play with your food, eat it.
Okay, some of those might be pretty easy. Good luck with a couple of those. We're going to see how this goes. I may not get any entries at all. Who knows? Anyway, that'll do it for Trucker Grub. If you, like I said, if you have a favorite restaurant or whatever, that you can access in a truck or nearby walk or whatever, send it to me, truckerdump@gmail.com. These are audio clips only. And I got nothing in queue right now unless I start stopping at restaurants, which, like I said, guess I'm just going to have to do. Bummer. Okay.
Hey, yo, bud, where do you want this load of feedback?
And here we are again in the listener feedback segment. Only problem, just like Trucker Grub, there is barely any listener feedback. I I don't know what's going on lately. Maybe I just haven't produced anything that's worth a piss and nobody wants to write in about it. I don't know. I think I asked lots of questions and lots of feedback, but I'm not getting it. Anyway, thankfully, Stevie is still here. So this feedback section is all Stevie all the time. We got 5 different emails from her. And I think in the next episode, we'll have 4 from her. Also, nothing else from anyone else that I am aware of. Again, if I have missed an email from you and you have not heard it on the show, please let me know, because sometimes I have a tendency to lose email. I admit it. Sometimes I really suck at it, which really sucks when somebody has, emailed me and then I find out like 4 months later they actually wanted to advertise on the show. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm not very good at this stuff. Anyway, all right, let's get on with Stevie and her comments from 5 different podcasts, all of which are very old. But hey, that's one thing I like about the Trucker Dump podcast, and I hope you do too, is that still a lot of the episodes are relevant. Maybe not everything in them, what's going on. Like, for instance, for a long time, I wanted out of trucking and was trying to figure out a way to do it. And, I've given up on that goal. So, it's not really relevant now, but, maybe you or some other trucker out there is going through that part in their life and that will help them. Anyway, I'm interested in any feedback you have on any old episode, new episode, any comments, suggestions, tips, constructive criticism, whatever you got. Email me at truckerdump@gmail.com. So let's get on with Stevie's comments. Yeah, first one, okay, this is a doozy. She listened to Trucker Dump 74, which was called Doing Dallas. And I had a neat little story in there that you would not expect from someone like me. Anyway, she writes, "Hi, Todd, another great episode. Love the story of the gay bar." Okay, so if that didn't pique your interest, nothing will. She says, "Being a female, I have not spent any time in gay bars. Since I'm straight." Well, I am straight too, yet there I found myself. So anyway, I know some of you out there are thinking, oh, okay, I missed that one. Trucker Dump 74. I'll have a link in the show notes. Anyway, she says, "But growing up in the theater as a kid and a teen, I certainly knew my fair share. I've actually gone a couple of times with my crew to local booby bars and strip clubs. Does nothing for me personally." Well, me neither, believe it or not, Stevie. "Oh, the stories I could tell of lot lizards. The Carnival Midway is notorious for them both during daylight hours and after dark. It's not just a truck stop thing." Didn't know that about carnivals. Can't recall seeing them when I was a kid going to carnivals. Then again, I probably wouldn't have known a lot lizard if they walked up and put it in my face. So anyway, she finishes up, "I've never ever been to Texas as of yet. Definitely on my list of places to see. Anyway, safe travels, my friend. Catch you next episode." Yep, Texas. That's a place unique all its own. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it, especially Dallas. That's where the evil overlord and I lived for a couple of years while I was in school when we first got married, and we had a blast down there. Lots of stuff to do. Anyway, Stevie goes on, and she was true to her word. She said, "See you next episode." Well, next episode, Trucker Dump 75. Who's a trucker? This was the one where I wasn't sure whether I wanted to call myself a trucker or am I a truck driver? Am I somebody who relocates freight? I just wasn't sure I wanted to be labeled a trucker. I've accepted that now because, like I said before, name of the podcast is Trucker Dump. Hard to avoid the title of trucker. So anyway, she writes, "Hey, Todd, I'm back. In general, I think it's just tomato myself. I was originally a passenger/navigator like Jean was." Jean, she was a passenger with her husband for a while. So I remember talking about that in the podcast a little bit. Stevie goes on and says, "I was only a driver when I needed to be, to cover a few miles here and there to give the driver a chance to sleep. Now, do I consider myself a trucker in that I watch NASCAR to Copenhagen or Skoal? And do I collect trucker memorabilia? No, I am not a truck driver. I don't even consider myself that." She goes on and says, "I ran into a similar thing all those years ago since leaving the Carnival Midway. Gotta remember she worked at a carnival for many years. She says, I was a ride jock, meaning I was a ride operator. I worked on one of those big scary rides that would spin a bunch of different directions very fast and flip upside down. Oh, Stevie, you mean those things that make me yak my entire guts out? Oh, I hate those things. Oh, just hate them. I like roller coasters, but those spinning things just make me want to hurl. Anyway, she goes on and says, now after 15 and a half years of doing this, is it something I can put on a resume or a job application? Absolutely no way. And don't even think I'm going to bring it up during a job interview either. In fact, I too whisper when I do in fact tell someone about it, which I try really, really hard not to do. It's followed up with, as you said, shh, don't tell anyone. That's what I say about truck. I'm a trucker. Shh, don't tell anyone. She said, well, cat's out of the bag now. Try not to hold it against me. I'm not a bad person. I just have a tendency to run with a rough crowd. Anyway, in a nutshell, that's my view on the matter. As always, safe travel, my friend. Well, I don't hold it against you. As a matter of fact, I would think that, much like being a trucker, it is a conversation starter. A lot of times if you're in a social situation, they say, hey, what do you do? And you go, well, I'm a trucker. Really? Well, you don't look like a trucker, or, oh, what's that like? Kind of a thing. I can imagine it would be the same thing as a ride jock or a carny. I don't know. Carny. Is that like a bad thing to call people who work at a carnival? I don't know. Anyway, I would think that'd be a good conversation starter. Anyway, let's move on to the very next episode. This one was Trucker Dump 76, The Spitting Christian Zealot. She writes, hi, Todd. Sorry, as you well know from me by now, I don't share your religious beliefs. Once again, a little preachy, don't you think? And gee, how you managed to even cover all or most of the religious/political hot button topics as well. Hey, that's how I roll, Stevie. What can I say? She says, but I do respect you a ton for standing up for said religious beliefs and convictions. Well, thank you. She says, see you next episode. Stay safe, my friend, as always. Well, she did skip a few episodes here, so shame on you, Stevie. She writes, Trucker Dump 80. That was called 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, Trucker Style. You probably heard that in the latest Christmas episode. I play that pretty much every Christmas. It's a little short ditty. So anyway, she says, hey, Todd, that was awesome. Almost as good as Jeff Foxworthy, the Redneck 12 Days of Christmas. Yeah, that's pretty good too. She says, I realize this is only September when she wrote this, but Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and the Evil Overlord and the nephews. Well, thank you. And a happy holiday to everyone listening right now. Oh, wait, it's not holiday time, is it? Okay, scratch that. We'll save that for later. And lastly, let's sum up with Trucker Dump 83, A Trucker Visits Car Hinge. This was a place I found out in Nebraska. It's basically kind of like, like Stonehenge in England, only it's in England, right? Yeah, it's in England. A bunch of cars shoved into the ground in unique ways. So I found this and put a little video of it up. So she writes, hey, Todd, I'm with Chris. I think Chris commented on, it was pretty cool. Anyway, she says, hey, Todd, I'm with Chris. New pics once in a while to maybe go with or add to the blog podcast would be a cool addition. That's so true. Everybody says that blogs are much better with photos, and I fail in that. I always get one for the main, like the main feature article, but I hardly ever post any pictures for all the little stuff. Anyway, that's just extra work, and it's hard enough for me to kick these things out as is. Anyway, I understand what you mean by that. Pictures really help. She says, in addition, the years that I spent in a truck, we would also spend time, if we had it, playing tourist. That and being a carny, living on a carnival lot during fair season, as well as being a driver. It afforded us plenty of opportunity to see plenty of cool stuff. I like the video, cool stuff. I suppose if I were in the area and had the time, I would probably stop and check it out. Anyway, take care and safe travels, my friend. Thank you, Stevie. Thank you for filling up the Trucker Dump feedback segment this time around. And hey, here's a shout out to everyone else. If you have been to a unique site that you think would be neat for a trucker to visit if they're passing by sometime, write in and tell us about it. Truckerdump@gmail.com. And, maybe the next time somebody drives by there, they will have the gumption to stop. Again, if you want details about where this car hinge is and everything, just Google it or go and check out Trucker Dump 83. All right, that is going to do it for this episode. Now, before I leave, I would like to say that I have not kicked out these podcasts on a monthly basis as much as I plan to. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I hope you are. You have always stuck with me in the past whenever my schedule fluctuates a little bit or I delay podcasts. Quite honestly, this podcast takes me a lot of time to put together, and it is a lot of work, and I'm kind of losing some gumption, I got to admit. So, that's not a guilt trip or anything like that. It's just that I'm probably going to kick out these podcasts a little less, on the nose. I'm trying to get, I had been trying to get them kicked out at the beginning of each month, but I'm losing a little steam. Maybe it's just a lull. I've had these before and then I come back stronger. So if you've got ideas for the podcast to help out, if you've got, like a unique job in trucking that, not super unique, like you're the only person in the entire United States or, Canada or Australia or whatever doing, but something that is a little unique. It's not your typical, reefer job or your typical dry van job, something like that, something a little different. You could suggest that. Maybe I'll have you on the show to talk to you about your unique job. You can add that to our little segment of different jobs for truckers. Any ideas you got for the show, I would appreciate it. So until next time, I guess I will just get out of here. I think the evil overlord and I are going to go for some breakfast, got to get the haircut, all the good fun stuff that you got to do when you're home and try to cram in to a tight weekend. I guess I better get on out of here. But without not first thanking longtime sponsor, Volvo Trucks, who, without them, quite honestly, it would be a lot harder for me to motivate to do these podcasts. So thank you to Volvo Trucks. Do the show a favor and go on over to volvotrucks.us or just click the link in the show notes. So, what's been on your mind lately? Got any thoughts you'd like to share about any of the news stories we've talked about lately? Any crazy trucker stories that could teach a lesson or just crack us up? Got a new mole that looks like a bust of Abraham Lincoln? Tell me all about it by shooting me an email to truckerdump@gmail.com. You can find everything I do, including the 25% off ebook combo pack, links to the Slack and Facebook groups, and even find some free stuff over at abouttruckdriving.com. As always, I really appreciate you listening. If you even partially like the show, please tell at least one trucker friend about the show during your travels this week. Thanks. So until next time, drive safe and stay out of my way. Let me just read this first part. Out of service I'll try to read the first part if I can spit the words out. Out of service. Actually, when I was reading this article, I thought, hey, that doesn't sound right. But apparently I would. Okay, go back, Todd, because this really sucks. Do it all over again. Ugh. We've talked about them before here on the podcast. They are a self-driving company that specializes in, son of a... She writes, "Hi, Todd. Sorry, as you well know from me by now, I don't share your religious. What's a religious? Norm... Wow. Going through puberty or something.